What about now? You good? Mhm. Mm. All right. Is it better? Coming through the audio interface. Should be working. Okay. It works. All right. Um I did read what you said. I'm sure you understand that it's not really good, I think, right? Or how do you feel about it, man? Are you doing okay? Kind of a yeah, I can imagine. Uh don't gaslight yourself, okay? Um Truth is that in a situation like that, Dennis, you kind of have every right to be a little mad and upset. Because I mean, just from what happened while I was talking to you, um, that was just it was like unacceptable, right? Like I don't want to give you like my how I would react in a relationship. Just it's not really that important. Um, are you okay? I know you said you're like feeling sad and angry, but which again I think you have every right to be pretty upset. But what do you feel is gonna happen next? Like how do you feel about your relationship now? Hey Samurai, you guys. I just want to make sure you're okay. Not today, Samurai. I when I get back from work, I'll watch it. I'm just talking to Dennis before I go to work for a second. I think you're correct, Dennis. Um, it's not that she. I mean, I guess it's a part of it, but like I'm gonna choose my words carefully here. That way, I don't like lead you to the wrong um outcome here, right? I'm not really big on trying to make people take sides or trying to say that your girlfriend's like a bad person or anything. I don't really like doing that. But what I will say is that from the scenario you told me yesterday, the fact that, and I think you know everything I'm about to say, it seems like you are aware of it. Okay, she doesn't really have any respect for you because someone who does, at least in pretty much every relationship I can think of, even open relationships, okay, even open relationships would have extreme problems with what that dude did. And the way your girlfriend reacted, it says a lot about not just that she doesn't take you seriously, just that she doesn't have any respect for you. So, I mean, she shouldn't have stayed. She should have, I'm not going to be friends with that guy anymore. That would have been the correct. And correct here is like obviously subjective. It's my version of correct, but I think most people would say that's a reasonable boundary in a relationship. Um, maybe. I mean, the thing is that Dennis, you know her best, so I can't really speak on behalf of her, but you have to be careful of putting this girl on a pedestal. Um, and that doesn't mean that when you love your partner or you're with your partner, you don't treat them like they're the best friend in your life or like the best person in your life, but don't gaslight yourself into feeling like this person is doing something for reasons that you already know in the back of your head are probably not true. She did. She's going to say a lot of things, I'm assuming, because the things that need to be said are really hard. So, I don't know. In my experience, and I'm sure Glockwork here can probably, seems like he can expand on this too. Um, I really believe that most people know what they need to do when it comes to relationships. They just, they can go to their friends, get advice. Everyone can give advice. Everyone can tell you this, that, what's the best thing to do. But deep down, I feel like most people know what they need to do, but it's just impossible to do what you think you should do. It's just harder to do it when you're dealing with like you, if you know what I mean. So, Dennis, when I talked to you yesterday, it seems like I feel like you know what is happening. Like you're kind of aware of it, right? Because it really doesn't matter if she said she doesn't want to be in a fight, in the center of a fight. What she should have done is say, "You're right. That guy said something unacceptable, and I'm not going to be friends with him anymore, or he needs to apologize to you or something. Like defend you for one, show that she has respect for you, and then the second thing is to at least care about the boundary a little, and that at least for me, because if either of those two things don't happen, then again, they don't have respect for you, and it's really hard to be with someone if they just don't respect you at all. Really hard. So, and I think you know this, Dennis, because you're aware of the fact that you have insecurities like this, where you know, and I think they're normal ones where you get like jealous and stuff. But just know that I'm here for you if you want to talk at any time. You can message me at any time. I'll make time for it. Okay. But thank you. This type of thing is really like a personal journey. So no matter what I say or like I'll be there if you really need it. You can message me at any time. But just know that the only thing that's really going to help it is yourself in this scenario. So I don't know how hard it's going to be in my life. Sometimes it's been brutal, but you have to like want to make changes or be better. Um, did you not talk to her last night, or did you continue messaging her? What happened last night? I noticed you were up pretty late. Did you message her at all? Like spam messaging? Okay. Was this guy hanging out with them, or is this guy just part of that Discord? Well, you know what else isn't working, Alara? I'll tell you what. Your access to my stream. He's just part of a friend group, basically. Yeah, like I honestly think you probably know everything that needs to be said for that, right? Um, I think you wanted your girlfriend to act a different way as well, and you just have to remember that sometimes people, you have an expectation of what people are going to be like in your head, and sometimes people break with that. You definitely should have defended anything, and then at least tried to show a boundary in some way. And if I'm not mistaken, that didn't happen, right? It was just not true. She's like, no, obviously it's not true, which is dismissing, not boundary. Like some people are non-confrontational, which is fine. Not like she needs to directly message the dude in a way that would amount to what I'm saying right now. What I find wouldn't really jive with that is her messaging to you. It doesn't matter if she's not confrontational, so yeah, so you know what's wrong with that, Dennis, right? At least in my view. Simply saying to stop is not good enough. Yeah. Which no, Dennis, Dennis, do you want me to tell the story a little, or do you want to keep it private? I don't think it's too revealing, so I was like, that is an interesting mistype right there. I was really hoping you didn't say ho. I said, do you want me to say the story really fast for Clockwork, or at least from my perspective? Maybe you can tell me if I'm misrepresenting it as well. Yeah, I'm big on discretion. So, Dennis has a girlfriend who he really likes. Dennis is in a vocational school for his studies right now that he's not feeling too confident in. It's not very fun. He feels isolated. His girlfriend lives a little bit away, not too far, but definitely long distance. They've been together 2 years, right, Dennis? And she's doing a lot better. 5 hours away, sorry. But you've been together 2 years, right? Yeah. And Dennis is pretty isolated from a multitude of reasons. School being pretty lame, right, and all those different things. And then Dennis' girlfriend is doing well, making a lot of friends, kind of living a different life than what he's feeling right now, which I think is totally normal to feel like jealous and all those different emotions over. But while I was talking to Dennis yesterday, some mutual friends in a Discord, I think Dennis, posted a joke that, well, she's made a few friends and she goes out about like a lot, and you get to see that, it looks like, right? Yeah. So this new friend made a joke in a Discord, I think, publicly, that he was going to sleep in his girlfriend's bed with her or something like that. Essentially, like, maybe it's a joke. I don't know. Did he tag you, Dennis? I think he messaged it directly to you, right? Yeah, and then I mean, it doesn't matter. And Dennis's girlfriend didn't really, in my opinion, I feel like that's like I would set boundaries. I would be like, "Excuse me." That's not a funny joke at all. And then probably not care about the dude that much. Probably want to care about your significant other and what they would do in this situation. And she, to me, didn't seem like she set a boundary with him at all. Just kind of like, it's not true, obviously. But I feel like you probably should do more than that. Especially since Dennis had talked to her a lot about the insecurities he's had. So with that in mind, I feel like it's just super disrespectful to just think that you can just go and everyone stop fighting in that scenario. I think you should probably show respect for your partner in that situation. That's just me, though. Mm. Well, again, Dennis, this is one of those things where, like, I don't think it matters what the fights were or anything like that. But just know that I think you know best what's happening in your relationship, or best what's happening with this guy. And I mean, you probably need to like really be direct next time you talk to your girlfriend. I don't mean like an ultimatum or be like, you know, mean or anything like that. Just communication can be really hard when you want to like directly say things, right? So, especially with your significant other. Like a true country song, Clockwork Orange. He's like, you have time to get to a place just like me where the bottle is my only friend. Good. Yeah, I wouldn't message her. Or, I mean, you can message her, ma'am, um, and just say that you need time to think because you don't feel like she give you enough respect. Honestly, something that direct would be a very good idea. I mean, maybe it depends on your relationship. You again, you probably know best. I don't know your relationship, but I feel like something direct like that would tell her what exactly is wrong, right? But don't like ignore if she does try to message you. Don't like do the whole game thing where, you know, I need to ignore for this amount of time, or just try and think about it naturally, okay? But telling someone that you need time to think for something like this, especially when I think this is a real problem because again, it's really hard to be with someone if you do not respect them. It's not possible in my opinion. Because either resentment has built up or some other fucking reason. That'd probably be a smart idea. But try and be direct if you do and just say something like, "I feel like you didn't give me enough respect or our relationship enough respect," and then just leave it at that. Um, you may get a lot of like, I just wanted the fighting to stop, a bunch of excuses, blah blah. It doesn't matter. What you're really looking for, okay, is honestly a simple apology that's just very concise. Like, I'm sorry, I understand. Next time, you're right. Because if that happened in the inverse, I would hope that you would respect me, right? So it just try and be really like clear if you do mess with her. It's easier said than done, though, right? Always. Yeah, if you do, really need to talk or um, even while I'm at work or whatever, I'll meet you anytime. I it may take me like a few minutes or an hour or two to get on the call, or if it's like really big problem, like you're panicking or ruminating pretty hard, um, I'll just make time. But I just want to reiterate that even though it may feel good to talk to someone about it, it is it's always a personal journey, and it will only be better by your own volition. And I say that with like a lot of reluctance at the same time as trying to be truthful because it's something I've struggled with a lot. I wouldn't say the last part. Take out the take my side part and keep the not trying to be neutral. Everything else is great. It's clear. The only reason I think the side take my side part is not really that relevant is because it's kind of like an emotionally driving line that may make her resent you because I know that she probably does a little bit because you've told me that you've like spam texted her a few times, so it may come off as like a little bit of an emotional manipulative thing, which is what it usually is when people say take my side. It usually has like an ultimative, like boundary driven thing in it where every single argument depends. Sometimes Glockwork, your partner can just be wrong. For instance, like, yeah. I mean, so like a relationship is a two-way street, right? So it's not like in all my relationships, there's obviously things that I could have improved on, right? Or things that I shouldn't have done. And you shouldn't be taking your partner's side every time. Like, you need to help them understand the boundaries or whatever. And if you just, there are some people who want to drive home that, like, it doesn't matter if they're wrong, right? You need to take my side. That's not having respect for relationships. So I just know that colloquially. Yeah, I mean, Dennis, it sounds like Dennis to me has some personal insecurities that stem from the lack of control in this whole situation, which I think is perfectly normal. Um, Spam texting can be really annoying, especially if you're the one getting it. Um, but sometimes it is kind of a normal thing. Most of the time, actually. Um, I think Dennis knows that too, right? So again, if you ever are panicking or like need to talk to someone, so you don't do that, just message me. I'll make sure that I can make time for you. Okay. Yeah. Again, personal insecurities are like that because they just overtake your faculties. Um, Especially the ones that are like delusional jealousy ones. I'm not saying you have schizophrenia or like jealous delusions or whatever. most extreme kind of obsessive controlling behaviors when you have delusions of your partner just literally all the time cheating on you, right? Um, they can't think when they're in the moment of like going through your phone like all or something or that sucks, man. When I was younger, I was dating a girl that I thought I would be with for you know a long time. Um, when she went to college, uh, I even gave her the option. I was like, you know what, like we can not be together if you want to like do whatever you want to do, right? She's like, no, and then find out like a year later she cheated on me. And then after that, I just became like a turbo slut again for probably like 7 years. Like I didn't date anyone. I was just like a one night stand kind of guy. I mean, I was honest with every woman that I was with. But I wouldn't talk to that guy. It's not really about him. And it may seem like it is, but the only person who you have any real semblance of an expectation for right now, someone who if you're in a relationship with, right, is your girlfriend. So it really doesn't matter what this guy says or if you guys are buds or what matters is first your girlfriend and respecting your boundaries, and then if you want to be friends with the guy because you know that your girlfriend respects you, that's fine. But the guy is not going to solve any of this whatsoever. The guy is going to, what it seems like he already is doing is trying to create a wedge, trying to, he doesn't give a fuck about you. So when people don't give a fuck about you, you don't need to give a fuck about them. Okay. I mean, I go into every conversation, every interaction with people. I have like a lot of respect for that person, but I think you've heard me say this before, but when people don't engage with that same level of respect that I think is just fundamental, like base level, I have no problems abolishing all of that dialogue and just fucking being an asshole. So I wouldn't talk to him. He should be worthless in your mind right now. He's probably just going to make you more agitated. That seems to be his goal. All right, Dennis. I have to get going to work. I am going to stream tonight. I usually work later, but I changed my schedule because I am streaming a debate tonight. No, he doesn't. This kid lives 5 hours away near his girlfriend, I think, right? Yeah, you can say whatever you want. And yeah, I think Glockwork said something good there. I don't know when you can see your girlfriend next, but trying to navigate these types of issues or these types of relationship problems is hard in tech. Very hard. Also, I would not do what Glockwork says because if your goal is to stay with your girlfriend, that will not work. Right now, I think his goal is to stay with his girlfriend. But for that to happen, she does need to have respect for him, right? So Yeah, Dennis, I think reading that, I think everyone knows what's happening, right? And if your goal is to stay with her, then you have to get that respect back. And I'm not saying that to be like, you're the man, blah, blah. I'm saying it because, again, it is impossible to be with someone if you do not get respect back. I don't know if she's cheated. It's not really what I think I'm going to like say. Again, I don't want to attack your girlfriend like Lockwork is doing. I'm not really, I don't really like trying to force people to isolate from others, right? But I think you know, she knows, this dude knows, and what needs to happen is that she might, but right now it does seem to me the biggest problem is that she really just doesn't respect your relationship, doesn't respect you, and she's not going to stay with you if that stays the same. It's just a fact. And Dennis, I it may turn out that you guys don't stay together. I know that's not what you want, but I mean you are. So I'm assuming, Dennis, that you already know this too, but the insecurities you have kind of probably present themselves in desperation and an obsessive, controlling manner, I'm assuming. And people who don't respect their partner, when that partner starts doing that to them, they it does the opposite effect of what you think it's doing or what the person does in the moment. I know you know what happens, but like you said, you can't really control it, right? And it will just further the divide. So again, I if your goal is to be with this girl, then you really have to not show the desperation that you need her and are completely available for her. And this is not like a jabroni. I'm not saying it to be like a jabroni take where like, you need to like ignore her, bro. You don't ignore people. Don't ignore your girlfriend. You just have to be mindful of the fact that when you show desperation like that, it does the opposite effect of what your uncontrollable mind is telling you it will do. So there needs to be like a reality for her to know that, oh, Dennis will leave me if I don't respect him. Because never if you never give the other partner, like your partner, the idea that, if there is no respect, then you will never leave, that is not a good thing. Because that means you don't have respect for yourself. You don't have respect from the other side. It's hard to be with someone who, isn't gonna be yeah, do not spam text. I know it's again, if you need to talk to someone when you're about to do it, just message me. I will make time. Okay? Because your messages worried me yesterday. Um, and again, I don't know if it'll work out or not, man. From what I've heard so far, I really don't know. But you can message me instead. I'll try to help you keep your relationship. Okay. But again, the people who know best would be you, and I think you know more than me. Okay. And it will be a personal journey, man. A woman will enjoy a man who is very interested in them, Glockwork, but when you have resentment and when you don't respect your partner, right? The golden retriever then looks more like a task or a job that you just a 9 to 5 that you never want to fucking step foot in again, right? That's awful. It might be. I mean, again, I can't really like predict everything. And again, I say this way too much, but like relationships are extremely personal and complicated. Like it's very easy for people to be like, you know, go to our relationships on Reddit, be like, this person's wrong. You need to leave them because they did like one bad thing. But the truth is, you can sit down with a married couple who's been married for 40 years, and you could sit there for a decade and not understand the complexity of that relationship if they just tried to tell you it for that entire decade because you didn't fucking live it, right? So relationships to me are like really personal and complicated, and the amount of advice I've given right now is not like it's not like fucking hidden knowledge, right? But I think that's what's happening, Dennis. So that's why the desperation that you might be giving off from spam text and things like that, it will have the opposite effect. She will start resenting you, start looking at messages that you send her as like a chore or like at worst with ill intent, right? And you don't want that. So what you need is show her that you have respect for yourself and this relationship and you are willing to leave it if there is none for you. And it's very important that both sides have that. Okay? It's not because you're always ready to leave, but it shows that there's stability with your partner. It shows that you can rely on them. It shows that you care deeply about like how you view them, how you feel about them, how you will talk about them to other people. The gym will definitely help. I mean, obviously it's not that simple, but for me, the gym absolutely helps. I actually don't even need to go to work now. My manager just went, "Would you like the day off?" So I guess I don't need to go. How am I doing? Um, yeah, yeah, probably. Sometimes I'm feeling good, never feeling great. Correct. That's Dennis, 100%. That is. Don't ignore Clockwork. I. At this point in time, he wants to be with the girl. So if it gets to the point where it doesn't work out, then take Clockwork's advice, because sometimes that's the only way you can get over someone is to ignore. But Dennis, what you just said right there, I think is perfect as far as what I can tell. Okay, ignoring people is, if you're in a relationship, is not a good thing, because it starts to build like this back and forth game of not taking your relationship seriously, right? Maybe that might be the truth, Clockwork. I'm not sure, but as of right now, I don't know enough, and then I know that Dennis wants to stay with this girl, and that could change if she starts respecting him again. But Dennis, that was probably I think that's the best thing you could have said. If she were in this chat room right now and saw that comment, she'd probably feel good about it. Okay, that was a good comment, because it means that you care a lot, especially the relationship part. I want a relationship. I don't want a fucking joke, right? That's, in my opinion, shows a lot of seriousness and something that needs to be respected, right? That is not true, Dennis. I would wait. That first one that you sent, or the first one that you said earlier, the one about I need time to think or whatever, and I feel like you don't respect me. That one, if you feel like it's appropriate, is one you could send. I felt like that one was clear. But you will, once you do that, Dennis, just know that there's gonna be like a domino effect that happens where I think you know what needs to happen after that, right? After about a day, you're gonna be expecting some type of behavioral change, right? Or like a genuine apology, and then a genuine recognition of that boundary. Does that make sense? Which will feel awful, because you'll be in limbo wondering whether or not she'll do that. So when you do send that message, the first one, again, if you want me to talk to you because you are panicking or feeling some problem, then you can just message me. So, because it will feel awful until you get that resolution. Yeah. So just now you're in that time. The clock is now, the stopwatch started, right? So it's gonna feel pretty awful. I'd recommend going to the gym now, trying to get your mind off of it. But while you wait, it probably will feel awful, man. But it is necessary. You fucking. So now I don't work today now. What should I do? Did I ever go trick or treating? No, Grand. I'm a reptile, and I didn't have a family. I did. Well, I didn't have a family, but I did go trick or treating. Dude, Grand Designs is one of my favorite neighborhood fucking psychos. He's literally one of my favorites. I have a video where I'm just like, "Hello, this is Grand." He's not a bot, or she. I don't know. Grand really likes some of the most peculiar, deep cut philosophical material and political material I've ever seen in my entire life, and it makes me feel fucking stupid whenever he has to. He puts links in my fucking chat all the time, and I'm just like, oh fuck, now I'm gonna have to go download another fucking 2,000 page book. Annoying. I mean, it's not annoying. It's just he's like, here, what are your thoughts on this? It's like a 15-hour video. I'm like, fuck, I have no thoughts. I don't know any of these people. 20 minutes into watching, he's like, this video. What about this one? Also 15 hour. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, I talk a lot about politics, which is probably not something a lot of people like to talk about, but I find politics fun. I always have. Politics is technically everything, right? I'm an independent. But if you're asking, I'm from the U.S., so if you're asking me, what are my voting patterns right now, or from poll? Energy sends longer videos than you, so that is true. If we are comparing you to Energy, then fuck, no one beats him. I think Trump is dangerous, so I'm definitely anti-Trump. I think he's a fascist. I think I could argue it really well. I would much rather go back to non-populist, nationalist, fascist politics. Um, Definitely not a Democrat though, because they don't really represent, honestly, any of my actual political interests. Things like foreign investment in real estate, things like large prosperity, things like better taxation, not just increased taxes, but I am a fascist. We'll go work out your arms, Dennis. Work out your abs. All right. Eat chicken and rice. Please help. That's all I eat. Chicken and rice is great. Please help. And post a shirtless pic. And fucking get that respect back, bro. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And take a lot of pre workout. Dry. Swallow that shit, dude. I'm a socialist. I'm a Jesus Christ, my throat. Pluralist. So I think every ism has probably some strengths and weaknesses. I think the idea that one of them is like perfect, even though some obviously are better than others, and especially organizational structures, like when it comes to governments, um, like communism versus capitalism, at least in the types that we have. Okay. Yeah, I know what meme you're talking about. I just use it as a segue to talk about my politics more. So I think that if a socialist policy has a better outcome and is more optimal for a socialist idea as it relates to what you're looking for, then by all means, why not do that? So, like let's communism is just the other coin and the other side of fascism, right? So they both end up in the same place, in my opinion. I guess you could say I'm a bit of a classical liberal. I lean towards that in government because I think America is a great country. I think America and its constitution are great. It came from the Bolsheviks, yeah. I mean, technically, communism was written about before that. Lenin expanded on it. Kind of communism was definitely expanded on by like Rosa Luxemburg and Anton Panenko in the early 1900s, and they used to be a part of the Bolshevik Party, but they had a split. Try not to think about that too much, Dennis. Um, I wouldn't fixate on it right now. When the time comes, you can message me, and then I'm not gonna tell you what to say because I want you to be the one to feel like you've. That's the only way it's gonna work. It needs to come from you, right? But I will help you. Okay. That sounds nice. I fucking love Valhalla, dude. This is literally one of the best plugins on the entire fucking planet. Uh,
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More about...
Oh, I've seen this. How come I don't remember any of it? Oh my god. Ram. I watched this, and now it has Sturner in it, right? How the fuck did I not remember that? So I have heard of Sturner before. This is a great video. At least I think so. What do you think? Unsolicited Advice is probably one of the best creators on YouTube right now. I'm 100% confident in that statement. I think he's an extremely positive voice. Whether that will stay the same, I don't know. But it's nice to know that he is getting a lot of praise now. I think we need more people like this. I also think Alex O'Connor is a great positive voice. I find Alex O'Connor is more. I don't think you should hold people as idols, right? I think you need to be able to look at people that you agree with or praise or think are great communicators and understand when they're not doing the right things. I think Alex O'Connor still is a positive, great communicator. I do not like when Alex goes on, like the Chris Williamson thing. I know Joe Foley is on there with him, but or like the Diary of a CEO. But I haven't seen Alex become like a guru yet. I still think Alex is a very honest, genuine communicator. Like I think it's more likely that Alex could change than Joe Foley. Going on where? This. This was a great.
And that's, I think, precisely what
Alex
sort of
was fucking
science-
brutal in this, bro. He was like, he had. There's one moment where he just had no shit with this guy, bro. Where the fuck is it? The fucking pastor dude. Because I just find this guy to be fucking not genuine at all. He has the appeal of genuine shtick, but he brings on people. Like I think as a content creator, you have a responsibility not to just everyone on. Okay? What I mean by that is if someone is, in my opinion, not just negative, because I binary people, at least digital creators. It's not a binary, but ultimately it ends up as a binary. So I put people into two categories. I put them in a negative one and then a positive one. Okay? So what I mean by that is the way they get into those binaries, there's a lot, but I think that when you start elevating people who should never be elevated, like you have a responsibility when you have millions of people watching you to think about whether or not just because something's beneficial for you, if it's going to have an impact on the rest of the world or just the greater narrative in general. And that sounds like a little like lame because your self-interest is really important, but I think the age of the internet and the veracity of how information can be spread around makes this something we have to think about. So like if I go to the Diary of a CEO's thing right now, okay? We have at least he brings on panels of people now. But some people shouldn't be being brought on whatsoever, in my opinion. So, like this guy, Eric Weinstein. Your brother's halfway correct. Because you respect your girlfriend too, right? And your brother is not correct. It is her own fault. That is wildly just unaware. I'm sure, Dennis, you understand that. I truly think you do. That part of this probably is your fault a little, man. And it's hard for people to deal with that. But every time that I've had a relationship fizzle out, or when I got cheated on when I was younger, right? There is no way to truly understand and move past something or take accountability for it without understanding that it was partly your fault too. A relationship is a two-way street, right? And it's very important that you understand that it's not just simply her fault for not doing that. That will negatively affect if you have that mindset about it always being never your fault, it'll really impact the rest of your relationships negatively in the future. Okay. I'm not saying you need to like be a bitch about everything, but it is very important. Um, so Eric Weinstein, right? I think if you have Eric Weinstein on your show, you are doing a disservice to the world because this guy is a fucking fraud, a fucking loser, and no one should look at him with that serious face he's got right now. So I think creators need to have responsibility at this point in how the internet works and think about whether this dude deserves to have a platform. I'm not saying like we need to censor him, but you as a creator should have accountability for the things you do. SG, what's that? What's that? No, he's Christian. He's a Peter Thiel guy, and no one is beholden to the Jews. The U.S. is most definitely controlling Israel. It does seem like AIPAC gets a lot of attention, though, but make no mistake, Israel has influence in American politics, but man, do they get vastly overestimated. Let's see here. I have Eric Weinstein's paper if one of you guys wants to see that. Where the fuck is it? Where in the fuck did I put this stupid thing? Oh god. Geometric unity. Fuck me, dude. Oh, I know where it is.
I have done nothing wrong ever in my life.
I know this.
The Secretary of War is announcing
Meanwhile, we're out here doing
killing
this.
14 people. Senior Pentagon reportedly.
These two are definitely.
And I love
By the way, Israel is committing a genocide right now.
you.
I love you too.
My opinion on Israel is fucked. You know how hard it is living in the existence I live in, where I somehow have to defend Israel from anti-Semites and Israel as a state and Jewish people in general, and fucking tell people how Judaism works. And then, yeah, I do.
This video is sponsored by
As a Nat sock, I don't. What is Nat sock? National. Isn't that a military term? What does Nat sock mean again? National Socialist? I've never heard someone say a nat sock. It definitely is a euphemism, though. Why would you want to be a nat sock? Curious. Oh my god. There we go. I have all these browser things going on. What the fuck is happening? Retard streamer. Me. What history are you pulling from? Don't mind me asking. What the fuck is it, dude? Geometric unity. And National Socialist, aka fascist, have made historically the best civilizations? What history are you pulling from? Well, disregarding the obvious tautology there. Give me an example. Well, are you referring to like the United States? The United States is most definitely a liberal democracy, antithetical to fascism. So, are you confusing the two, or what's happening? Where the fuck is his stupid paper? It still is. It still is a liberal democracy. Why Johnson, by the way? Just because of the Civil Rights Act? Mm. Okay, so we've jumped a lot. Pretty sure that was Nixon. And second, that's an economic question. Okay. Third, I don't know how that would make something populist or not. And fourth, it does not matter at all because gold is literally pointless. Can you use gold to buy a home? You can. You can go to a bank and give gold to a bank for a home. Are you sure about that? Can you get paid in gold? Does the government distribute debt off of gold? We barely give them any money. They are a drop in the bucket. Since 1969, we've given Israel $360 billion. That is literally a drop in the bucket of this country's total wealth. Israel is a fucking stain on a couch that's like 10 years old. A tiny one at that. It's literally not that important. But like gold, can you get paid in gold? Israel is committing genocide right now. I mean, Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Yoav Gallant need to be tried for war crimes, but depends on the seller. Grand, no. The answer is no. You literally, even if you buy gold, Grand, you know what happens? You know what happens when you buy gold, Graham? If you go buy gold as a commodity, okay? Do you know how this works? Like, have you ever bought gold? If you bought gold, by the way, like 2 years ago, a year ago, you're doing pretty well right now. Except anyone who knows how markets work or has any semblance of financial literacy would know that this is not going to last. It happens every time market or a lot of volatility is happening in the stock market. People think gold is a safe place to put money, but it's not. It's just a phase. Gold and silver do not always rise, as you can clearly see. That doesn't mean that it's going to be something you can use your currency based on, or whether it's going to even remotely be relevant to the political machination of your country. So what is the point of gold? Why not platinum? It's rising. I don't know. Why not copper? Copper actually really always rises. Okay. Conductivity has no relevance to how you're going to run your country's economy. It obviously is used in like semiconductors and is part of a supply chain for computer equipment and stuff. But so now that we have understood, I'm not. I'm just. You said gold will always last because of tech. I'm agreeing with you. It is used in supply chains for pretty much tech across the globe, but you can't buy a home with gold. No one is going to take gold. No one's going to literally shill debt, create money with gold. That's not a thing. This is a really bizarre. We do. I live in California, South Orange County. I do. I think it's a positive country. And I like the Constitution. I think the Constitution is a positive document. This is not a good syllogism now. There's no way to answer that. There's no such thing as the best country. But I think the US is a good country. No, and I think the US has been a force for good in history. So I'm going to partly answer your question by saying the US has been instrumental in keeping global security for the past century and a half. However, do you honestly think that you could tell in a Iraqi person whose parents died in shock and awe that the United States creates the best countries? Even though I think the United States is a positive thing, what do you think that guy is going to say? Is there any way I can really change that dude's mind? No, there's not. The funny thing is he has every right to tell me that I'm fucking wrong, and I would have no way to counter it. But nonetheless, I think that the United States is a positive force in the world. But it will never be to that Iraqi citizen. I'm sorry. I didn't say that I minded it. I just said that I can't say he's wrong. It would be like fundamentally impossible. Any objective truth statement, any way you want to define good, is going to immediately be validated in and of itself if you try and define what you mean by good, because then you've just laid a paradox down. Trump is not laying the groundwork for anything good. He's abandoning the country and what it stands for in favor of populist ideas that historically have shown to be very destructive. Good is subjective. I don't know, maybe. I'm kind of in the middle of that. I don't really know if I think it's subjective or not. Where the fuck is this guy's goddamn fucking
Squarespace. More about them in just a moment.
Whoever knows how to take, to him belongs property. This philosopher has been charged with inspiring.
Trump is a populist. He's absolutely a populist. What would he be hyped for? Do you like America?
Nihil.
Also, I'm not trying to be mean, but do you like America? Grand, all those things are true. But again, I don't believe in perfect governments. Now, what I can tell you right now is that what you just said is true. But Grant, the alternative, at least the one you proposed, has no bearing in reality, at least so far. And everywhere it tries to be, ends up in Somalia-like state, where instead of just worrying about whether or not civil asset forfeiture might happen when you get pulled over by a cop and you're brown, you have to worry about whether you're going to be beheaded in the morning by a band of a local faction that is just doing whatever the fuck they want. So just know that I obviously understand what's not true. What is not true? Dennis, I would be Dennis. Before you go, your brother is obviously his brother, but I don't like that he wants to isolate you from this girl all that fast. The truth is, Dennis, is that I don't know if that is what you're gonna have to do, but your brother is just using his own experience and just like transposing it on you. Don't do that. Tell him not to do that. If you want to stay with this girl, then you do need the respect, okay? But don't just break up with her because your brother said that his ex-girlfriend did. Every relationship is different. He's just extrapolating that and projecting it on you, okay? I wouldn't listen to that fully. Just try and do what we talked about, okay? No, Graham, tell me what part that you disagree with the most. The part about the organizational structure that you have proposed to me existing in reality, which it obviously has not, unless you have something you can show me. And then it working, because I am someone who's a bit pragmatic. If you remember my debate, I don't believe in prescriptions for governments. I think we need to describe them. We need to do description, which means idealism is great, but we can't force it if it doesn't work in fucking reality, right? So if your proposals, which I take seriously, okay, I think about them. I still don't have a great opinion on them yet, so that's why I'm not like going too much deeper into it. But what I can tell you is that at the moment, it still seems realistic and not pragmatic in any way. But nonetheless, I obviously am going to read what you send me and listen to it and stuff. So if it hasn't existed, Grand, there is no comparison. That's what I mean. So there's no way the road begins.
Thank you so much for joining us, by the way.
Talking about the downfalls of the Constitution in liberal democracies is something I am very aware of. But that's not an argument to abandon the Constitution in liberal democracies in favor of something that realistically is not based on any pragmatic or evidential way either. Because every time a country tries to do that, make a government off of idealism, okay, we end up with Somalia. Really? You're fucking annoying, bro.
You've called.
How is what you proposed to me, Graham? How is philosophical anarchism and egoism not idealistic? What in the world are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with having ideals, having something that you have conviction in. What's wrong is forcing that ideal just because the ideal is more important than what you get in reality. Okay? And liberal democracies, classical liberalism, has allowed all of us to exist and suffer, at least without the thought. Unless you're black, I guess. I mean, it wasn't really obviously different topic, but for radically included people, which the Constitution was very radically inclusive for some things, and the fact that it was so radically inclusive made it so we can adjust it to bring black people in. So that's a good thing, right? But I think living in the lapse of security, the false sense of security we have in classical liberalism has allowed a lot of people to be like, wow, what if we had idealism better, And then you end up with fucking Somalia, where people try and do these experiments. So at the moment, I'm not convinced that it's just going to magically make everything better.
The district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection.
It doesn't come from might. You could probably say it comes from a lot of things, might being one of them, but I think security is guaranteed when you have the ability as a country to act upon your debt, and when you have essentially the ability to defend yourself against something else.
Does the administration
internally and externally
still plan to abide by that ruling?
It's none of those. Science is none of those. The philosophy of science, which is what Reclusi is bringing up right now, is extremely in depth and has a lot of philosophical underpinning to it. But to me, if you want the most basic, communicatable idea of science, science is just a way of thinking. And it has nothing to do with facts or any of that. That is just absolutely not true. Science is not just objective truth. I here. Let me give you an example. Glockwork. Do you think it's possible to use science to upload a human mind in 100% of that human mind's capability or like capacity? As in, could you use science to transfer 100% of the human mind into like a hard drive if we hypothetically had the capability? Do you think we could do that? Let's say we are going to transfer a human mind into an AI computer like a hard drive. Do you think we could do that 100%? As in, like, take the entire consciousness and upload it 100%? We'll just use some math. Okay. Do you think math, pure mathematics, is scientifically, objectively true? Yeah? Yes or no? Okay. I'm going to write a problem for you really fast, okay? I want you to tell me if this statement is objectively true, okay? I mean, like, we're talking about the philosophy of science, okay? So when I say objectively true, that means think of like God, divine command, objectively true. We're talking like inherent, intrinsic, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a problem here, okay? It'll be a simple one. You're fine. Do you know what this is? What I just drew on here. I drew a function, the function of a graph, right? No, you're fine. Because, you know, I chose this one because mathematics is axiomatic, right? People, it's has like truth statements to it, but objectively true, right? So if I asked you right now, I'm going to zoom in on something really quick here, okay? So on this graph, if I asked you to bound this, okay, from, we'll just say 2 until 3. Actually, we'll do 4. Oop, that. So we're going to change this to 4. All right. So do you know what an integral does? This little squiggly thing right here. You may have like taken a calculus course and kind of learned about it, but do you know what an integral does? What does an integral do? It has a very specific utility. So an integral, okay, I'm going to put something up, putting something up here. An integral measures or gives you the area underneath a function bounded by whatever the integral is, okay? Well, I'm trying to show you how math is not objectively true, intrinsically and inherently. Because I'm going to ask you a question right now, and I want you to tell me how you could say it's objectively true, okay? So, do you know how we measure the area underneath an integral? It's objective within the material world, yeah. You can say factual statements, but that doesn't mean that they're intrinsically objectively true. Logic is only as good as what we can observe. So when we can't observe things, how do we use logic for them? That doesn't make any sense. I guess reason is I'm using reason interchangeably there, but the way we do it is we use boxes. That is an objective statement, yeah. If you bring up crime stats, that's an objective statement. There's nothing that is not objective about simply stating observable. No, you did not. What you said, and I'll quote you. You said, sciences are objective truth that cannot be subjective. So here, let me help you out. Crime statistics, something I'm pretty familiar with. I studied econometrics, so statistical analysis of economics using models. So you think that crime statistics are objectively true in a way that, if we think about this in a philosophical way, like inherently, crime statistics have an objectively true nature to them. Objectively true in what way? Because there is a difference between, if we want to go over the philosophy of science right now, science can only make claims about observation or what it is observing, and we can say that that is true objectively within that framework. But when you say science is an objective truth, you're just not understanding like the philosophy behind it, because science cannot explain things inherently like that. Yeah, I was asking both of you how to measure the area of an integral, because the way we measure the area of an integral is using a bunch of boxes. So we do it like this, right? Right? Use boxes. And I want to point something out. In those boxes, do you notice that there's these little gaps right here? I filled them in. You see how the little filled in areas have boxes now? What exponents? Isn't that a syllogism? This is just logic if true than that, right? Just like a syllogism. So this doesn't imply inherent objective truth, though. So in this, a hypothetical syllogism, right? It does have to rely on like an observation. You're aware of that, right? To make an objective claim where it affirms the antecedent or the consequent. Sure, but you're starting with, can you say that P is an inherently, and I mean intrinsic, is in its inherent value, its objective truth comes out of itself? Or are you using some material, you can only do logic with the universe that you live in. So, as in, like, every time I drop an apple, okay, then this happens. But there's no the intrinsic truth of P. How do you define that? We can say that this is logical. If I drop an apple, or sorry, if I pick up an apple and let go of it, then it will fall to the ground. There you go. But you've just described an observation in the universe that you can understand. But what about the inherent quality of those fucking things? The law of non-contradiction. Yes, inside of the universe that we live in, yeah. But if we were in some other universe, then how would you know that one is fundamentally contingent? That's the whole problem. This is why science can't explain anything, because you can never be 100% right. There's no inherent reason, like objectively inherent reason why the apple needs to fall. It just does, and then we can say it's objectively true that it falls. Okay, well then yeah, go for it. Maybe we're talking past each other because, I mean, I picked one of the most axiomatic things in the fucking universe, which is mathematics. And the thing about mathematics is that even itself is not fundamentally just, there's no inherent truth to it. Do you believe in God, Glockwork? Yeah. There's a lot of truth in that, I guess. Here you go. This is what I was talking about. Yep, that is an objectively true statement. Now, because I'm just going to interrupt you, because I definitely think we're just talking past each other, can you tell me why there is an objectively inherent, intrinsic truth to an object that has mass attracting another object with mass? Is there an objective truth? Or are you just describing an objective truth from the conditions? They can at the quantum level. So what do you mean? The laws of nature break down once you get to this small enough math or small enough size. So I'm not sure what you're asking me, because even your own syllogism right now breaks down once you get to a certain point in mathematics. Did you not? Oh, okay. Nothing makes sense. Well, the thing is that gravity is not the fundamental level. It obviously interacts with the standard model, and then it kind of breaks down at the quantum model. So how can you say it's fundamental? Things like neutrinos and stuff don't even really interact with gravity. I didn't jump ahead. I think, do you know about the philosophy of science? Do you know what I'm talking about? What is a metaphysician? So someone who studies metaphysics? What's your specialization? Hmm. Interesting. Have you written a thesis? I mean, sounds like you probably have like a PhD or master's or something, right? Curious. What's that? If you're familiar with the philosophy of science, by the way, the philosophy of science is not like a juxtaposed thing to metaphysics. So I'm not really sure why you would say that. I'm sure many of them would say that your work is probably not true. It seems a little bit of a stretch, but what are you studying? Like, what's your specialization on? For properties and causation? Is it like older Aristotelian, or are you doing like Kantian, or is it more idealistic? What is it? I'm just curious. Is it biblical? Like St. Thomas Aquinas or something? You'd have a hard time defending objective, inherent, intrinsic truth for causation principles. So it sounds like a Kalam thing. Why does that name sound familiar? So why exactly are we arguing about objectivity, like inherent objectivity, as it relates to truth statements? We're we're prescribing equality when we do that, right? So I'm just confused. Really? When you say properties, and we're talking about like science, right? Does science have a way of objectively proving properties in the metaphysical? We were talking about the philosophy of science, right? And how I mentioned earlier that natural, I'm assuming you're implying there means like in the material world, right? You can obviously make objective statements about things that you can observe for the most part. I think I was pretty clear on that. So I'm confused. So, with that in mind, is it fair to say that science can say objectively true things about metaphysics in that way? I just think science is a way of thinking, but I would never say your work is. It sounds. It seems like. Why can't I find this book? What the fuck is this? Is this a good book? By the way, Lucy? This one. Causation in Science and the Methods of Scientific Discovery. I am unfamiliar with this, so that doesn't mean I can't like understand that this is not. It's like ideas, right? When it comes to metaphysics, so not. I already know that it can't do what we were talking about, but it's philosophical, yeah. I think you're okay. I should be able to get it. I can find anything most of the time. What the fuck is going on here? The site literally just go down. What the fuck? Oh my Lanta, bro. Which one of you is gonna find it first? Which one? Wow. Yeah, LibGen. For some reason, LibGen is just being really annoying now. It says it's live. You fucking. Roger. Good. Good. I don't have access anymore. I haven't been in school in a long time. Why is it being so fucking weird, bro? It bothers me. What the fuck?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago.
Well, now that I can get it from you, whatever you think is most relevant, so I can understand what the fuck you're talking about. I'm addicted to information.
Ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code,
Plenary authority.
Nihilism, anarchy, and atrocity. He has also been heralded as one of the most original thinkers of the 19th century and is often thought to have prefigured Nietzsche, the French existentialists, and more. This is Max Stirner, and his thesis is deceptively simple, that each human being should only care about themselves, that we should abandon the notion of transcendent values and all become outright, unashamed egoists. So today, we're going to take a look at his magnum opus.
Oh yeah, I was just giving this guy big praise. He's fucking awesome. He's a really positive voice. My eyes.
The Ego and Its Own, to see just what makes Stirner so influential, but also so utterly controversial. But his egoism ultimately stems from his intense critique, not just of our value system, but of the concept of values itself. So that is an
What do you mean? Ignore it. For right now, ignore that. Yeah. Yeah, you could ignore that message for sure. You see, the thing about emotional manipulation is that it often presents itself not in the way you see in movies. And that text message is not her not understanding what your message is. That's her not wanting to do yet, hopefully, what you need for this relationship to work, right? If you give into messaging now and trying to talk about what that statement, I'm assuming that's verbatim, it's not going to turn out well. It's dismissive of what you're trying to get. I would take some time, deal with it tomorrow. And you're not asking her to change herself. That is definitely not what's happening. So don't get dragged into, some conversation where it feels like now you've admitted to that, you're like you've done that, because that's not what you're asking her to do. Asking her to respect you is not the same as yourself. That's extremely deceptive. Yeah, I won't. I won't say anything. All of them. I am interested, so yeah, all of them. For sure.
It's an excellent place to start. 1. The development of humanity. Underpinning Stirner's entire philosophy is a very particular notion of the progress of ideas in history. This is a theme of philosophers in this period, arguably since Hegel. But Stirner has a 3-stage story of how human values have shifted over time, which he believes will eventually culminate in egoism. Interestingly, he equates these stages with aspects of our development as individuals as well. He calls the first stage of this developmental arc realism. Today, this term often refers to someone who is neither an optimist nor a pessimist, but this is not what Stirner means. For him, a realist is someone concerned with objects and events out in the world and fulfilling their own appetites. That is, with real stuff as opposed to ideas, thoughts, and theories. Stirner thinks this is naturally the approach of young children for a few quite intuitive reasons. The first is that they just can't really understand much else other than what's in front of them and their environment. They cannot yet grasp ideas or have a sophisticated understanding of their own mental states. The second reason is that their behavior is often hemmed in by adults who are far more powerful than they are. And the third is that they are at the mercy of their appetites, having not yet learned to control and discipline their wants.
Yeah, a lot of thoughts already.
As Stirner puts it, the child is not persuaded to anything by conviction and are deaf to good arguments and principles. On the other hand, coaxing, punishment, and the like are hard for us to resist.
Was enacting the punishment.
On a more civilizational level, Stirner thinks that many pre-Christian European civilizations, like the ancient Greeks, were in something analogous to this stage. In his view, ancient Greek philosophy was mainly concerned with how to use the mind specifically to affect the world. His prime example of this is the Sophists, who would use their mastery of language, rhetoric, and thought to live the best life they could and teach others to do the same. One exception to this, however,
he was definitely saying some wild shit. That National Socialism was historically a good thing.
Is Socrates. When Socrates was sentenced to die by the Athenian state, he refused to resist them and allowed himself to be executed. In his mind, it would betray his principles to flee, so he did not. And for Stirner, this set Socrates apart from his contemporaries. Whereas he views them as using reason as a tool, Socrates was appealing to reason to rule over him. It's why Stirner calls him the inventor of ethics. Stirner's intellectual history here has been heavily and justifiably criticized. There are many pre-Christian philosophers that do not use reason merely as a tool to interact with the world, but as a way of legislating values even for themselves. The Logos of the Stoics is full of moral compulsions, as are the Cynics and the Pythagoreans. These philosophies are not just concerned with the true enjoyment of life, they are concerned with universal values. Sure, there are some who do use philosophy primarily in this tool-based way, but I think Stirner does some real cherry-picking here. Either way, the main property of the realist stage is that the will is unfettered by internal principles. However, it is still constrained by the world itself and by its own undisciplined desires. The child is simply not powerful enough to exert its will very much, or choose between its competing desires. And by the time it is
quite the reverb, man. Holy mother of God. That is a lot of reverb. Maybe it's not what I was looking for. About long. How about smooth this room? That one sounds good. Let's see if maybe no diffusion long. Ooh, that's like a fucking Nice. Fucking living room with a Steinway in it. I like this one. Is it doing that fucking thing where all of a sudden it goes like... Is it doing that? I can't figure out why, bro. Oh my god. I wonder if it's like 4800. Could be. It like builds up, right? I don't know. Need to figure out that. That's gonna bother the fuck out of me. Let's see. 1 2 output 1 2. You're muted. It shouldn't. It's got to be a fucking driver thing. Like one of these has to be just off on its. I have recorded it because when I record guitar to see myself play so I can get a little better. It fucking, I can hear it in the guitar and I'm just like, what the fuck is happening, bro? It's like, it's quite the noise. Maybe it's this. Are you talking to her, Dennis? I hope it works out, Dennis. I'm gonna figure out what that is. Oh, hello. Looks like other people have this idea. I agree with that. It's a good sign, Dennis, that she, wants to talk after you sent your message earlier, about like needing a day to think. But it's still a little too early. Again, if your goal is to try and get you know, her to respect you again. And you're not going to get that if you talk to her this fast. At least concerning your situation, I think. Man, I don't want to hear. What? How often does it happen? Hello. Oh, got nothing happening now. Rip. I'm gonna refresh